Many communities in central and eastern New Mexico received some welcome rain last month, but was that enough to reverse the impact of years of drought in our state? Our producer Sarah Gustavus sat down with a UNM professor who studies climate issues to discuss current drought conditions and what we can all do to help the state meet our water needs in the future.
Professor David Gutzler, thanks for sitting down with us today.
Thanks, it's my pleasure.
We've all, many of us in New Mexico have experienced this rain in recent weeks. It's been great for our gardens, great for farms and for our yards. And parts of the state are no longer in severe drought conditions. That's eastern New Mexico. Western New Mexico still has some drought, but it's not as severe as it was before. Will this trend continue for very long?
That's a good question. As we move out of the winter and spring season into summer, the climate becomes less predictable. So the NOAA Climate Prediction Center has given a thumbs up for enhanced probability of above average rain through the rest of the year, really, which is great news, but that's still just a probability.
So when we say that drought conditions are gone in certain parts of the state, are they gone for good, or could they come back by July or August if we don't get a lot of rain?
If the monsoon fails, then we could see at least the beginnings of another drought episode in the eastern part of the state. As you mentioned, the western part of the state is still pretty dry, so the rain has really been focused across the central and eastern part of the state and points east. So certainly Oklahoma and Texas have received record amounts of rain, too much from their perspective.
One thing when we talk about water is we look at snowpack, and there was poor snowpack again this year. What does that mean?
Well, despite the rains that we've gotten over the past couple of months, the volume of water in Elephant Butte Reservoir, the biggest reservoir in the state, is still very low. And it's up about 10 feet or so from a couple of months ago, but still way below where it was 5 or 6 years ago. And to fill up a big reservoir on a main stem river like the Rio Grande really requires a big slug of snowmelt runoff. And we haven't had a good snowmelt season for 5 years now. So until we get a good winter snowpack, we probably won't be looking at really filling up Elephant Butte the way we'd like it to see for irrigation purposes in the southern part of the state.
You've also been assessing water shortages with some colleagues at NMSU, New Mexico Tech. What are you guys looking for right now?
We're trying to assess the state's vulnerability to water shortages, both in the near term and the longer term. And we're comparing what's happening in terms of the impacts of drought with what happened in the 1950s, which is the big historical drought of record in the state. What we found is that stream flows in the major rivers have hit record lows over the past couple of years, despite the fact that the drought in terms of precipitation was actually much worse back in the 1950s. That portends problems in the long term, because we think the warmer temperatures that are driving lower snowpack and lower stream flow are not going to go away, even when the precip comes back, as we hope it will this year.
So how should we think about water in New Mexico? I mean, we are a dry state. We've had, just as you mentioned, this drought in the 50s. We've had droughts over and over and over again in our history. And so are we on the right track? Are we in thinking about water right now?
I think we're on the right track, but we're still quite vulnerable over the long run, in much the same way California is right now. California is in crisis. Their drought has not abated from these recent rains. And so I think we ought to be looking at how California deals with a really severe water shortage, keeping in mind that that might happen here at some time over the next few decades. So although we've had drought after drought after drought, that's just part of the climate here. What's different now is that there are many, many more people now than there used to be. And we've depleted considerably some of our groundwater resources, which has always been the buffer for times of low surface water in the past. So we've reached the point where water's overallocated. And there's enough resiliency in the system to get through a few years of drought, but California's about reached that limit. And so they're faced with really tough choices about how to manage water. thankfully, I don't think New Mexico is quite at that crisis point yet, but I think we ought to be drawing lessons from what California is going through now, unfortunately, and starting to think longer term about how we'll manage water in a dry place with many, many people and not enough water potentially to go around if a big drought continues for too much longer.
One of the things I think about is, at what point will we say we have to leave New Mexico? People have to leave, that even with a population of a little over 2 million, that it's too many people and we have to go somewhere else. When will we know if that's a realistic possibility?
Well, it's my hope we won't get to that point. Arguably, some folks would say we do have enough water for the people and the activities that are going on here if we just manage it differently. But we also have a set of laws and water policy in place that doesn't necessarily lead to resiliency given the way we use water right now. And that's exactly what the discussion in California is all about. How do you allocate water? Who gets priority? How do you share shortages in times of drought crisis? It's an unfortunate but a real laboratory for how we might choose to manage water differently in the future here in the West.
There are two kinds of conversations. There's very big picture, what the state needs to do, what cities and counties need to do. But I think a lot of us as individuals, we care, and especially if we want to stay in New Mexico and we want our lifestyles to be sustainable here. What are some things that individuals can do to start to think about their role in this conversation about water in the future?
Well, a couple of things, I think, and there I'm optimistic because an awful lot of our summer water usage, for sure, has to do with landscape watering and outdoor watering, things that we can manage. And so the efforts that have been initiated by the city here in Albuquerque and in Santa Fe to reduce municipal usage and really narrow our water usage down to the things that are essential for people, those are paying off. And we're actually using less water per person and less water overall in the cities than we used to. And we're ahead of California in that regard. So those efforts, you know, the fact that we got started before there was a crisis, I think are really paying off. And the folks that run the water utilities in our cities deserve an awful lot of credit for promoting those activities. Beyond that, again, thinking somewhat bigger picture, individuals need to think about what we want New Mexico to look like and what sort of environment we want. If you ask people what do we love about the state and what do we need to do to manage our resources in a way that keep New Mexico the place we love, that's the kind of discussion we'll need to have. Because if we simply spew out, you know, water out of the hose willy-nilly, it's not clear to me that the things we love about New Mexico are going to be sustainable on the century time scale.
Certainly, we will come back to water again in the show. It's an important issue in New Mexico. Thanks for sitting down with us today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you very much.